What's going on YouTube? Bacon here bringing another video. At long last, we've got week 1 of the MWPA Season 7. As I mentioned in my draft recap, I will be playing the Venus division for this season, having been promoted from Earth from last season. So definitely excited to face some really good battlers here in the Venus division. Lots of really good players. And yeah, hopefully we can make playoffs again and kind of show our stuff. So yeah. Looking at the first team matchup we've got here is against RareKyle, coach of the Bronx Hydreigons. And let's get right into the team builder. So on Kyle's team, he's got Lander's Incarnate form, that can be Sheer Force, Tapu Fini, Tangrowth, Raikou, Mega Tyranitar, Stoutland, Bronzong, Cofagrigus, Nidoking, Mienshao, and Lycanroc Dusk. So he's got a lot of stealth rocking options on his team. Overall, his speed's not amazing. His fastest mon is Raikou at base 115, which I can kind of take advantage of with things like my Zeraora. He does have the sand potential, I guess, with Stoutland, but I'm not really anticipating seeing Stoutland in this game. I do have a Celesteela, so that should really dissuade that thing from coming. Big threats to my team, obviously Lando is always a huge threat. Life Orb Sheer Force just does a ton of damage versus my team. Smackdown or Gravity definitely makes a lot of sense versus me, so he can hit my Celesteela. Otherwise, Landers can't really touch that thing, so I'm expecting him to have one of those two moves. In general, that's pretty nice versus my team anyways, because I do have the Latios as another ground immunity there, and the Gligar as a third ground immunity. So definitely thinking he'll bring either the Smackdown or the Gravity variant of Landorus. Tangrowth is actually a big problem for some of my team to break through. Like, if he brings physically defensive Tangrowth, I can pretty much wall my Zeraora. Could even run like physically defensive with Assault Vest to take on my Greninja a little bit better as well. Celesteela can kind of pivot into Celesteela if he's like a Rocky Helmet variant. He can take some chip off me with Heavy Slam, denies me from getting Leech Seed recovery, things like that. Fizzdef Tangrowth can also wall Terrakion unless I'm like an SDZ move variant, which I didn't really feel like was very good here. Basically, Tangrowth can just be really annoying for my team. I do have a Venusaur, so that's something that is going to be kind of problematic for the Tangrowth to deal with, because I can just kind of come in and Synthesis up in its face all day. But obviously, Synthesis is a little bit of a trouble this game, considering he does have the sand from his Mega Tyranitar. I don't really have great switch-ins to Tyranitar either. Basically, Dual Stab just puts in the work versus me, bar my Terrakion, which I might be running like Earthquake for. And again, Terrakion I didn't feel like had a very good matchup this week, so definitely a very difficult matchup. He's got some really serious breakers with like the Tyranitar and the Lando. Nidoking is a huge problem to deal with as well. Great coverage in this game. Probably running Ice Beam, T-Bolt, or Ice Beam Fire move, something like that, to deal with my Celesteela and like my Latios, for example. Definitely a couple really strong breakers on his end. Pretty nice balanced team coming out of his side. I should also mention the Cofagrigus. Actually, my Ghost Resist is a Greninja, which is not great, or like normal Silvally or Dark Silvally or whatever. So normal resists are not great in this game. Don't have a Ghost type on my team, of course. So, sorry, Ghost Resists are not great on this team. I don't have an actual normal type unless you count Silvally as one. So definitely going to be kind of problematic to deal with that thing. I don't have a good like Pursuit Trapping option or anything. And like I mentioned, Greninja being a Dark type resist, or a Ghost type resist, gosh, is not great for me. So, yeah, let's get right into my side of the team builder then, and what I brought. So starting off here, we got Celesteela, your girl, coming in with leftovers. Leech Seed, Flamethrower, Heavy Slam, and Earthquake, running Max HP, Max Fizzdef Celesteela, pretty standard kind of physically defensive set. Earthquake's going to allow me to chip down things on his team like the Nidoking, like the Raikou, if he happens to want to bring that in on me. Tyranitar will do some decent damage to it. I think it actually might do more than Heavy Slam if I'm not mistaken, just because Mega Tyranitar is a very heavy boy. But it's mostly here for something like the Nidoking or something like the Raikou to get a little bit more extra damage off on them. Definitely scared of a potential Raikou bring. Like, obviously it has some trouble with like the combination of Latios, Zeraora, and Mega Venusaur, but if he runs like Psychium Z with extra sensory, that's something I have to be worried about. So I definitely want to have something that Raikou can just come in for free on my Celesteela. And if I'm predicting him to go for a substitute, I can break it with an Earthquake. If he's thinking he can get a free sub up on my Celesteela, I can at least deny him from doing that and then switch out afterwards, predicting him to go for the Electric type move following that. Basically, I just don't want to get whittled down by like Sub-Toxic or like Sub-Z Extra Sensory, whatever, versus my team. This gave me an opportunity to kind of get some good damage off on the Raikou, break its substitutes and stuff like that. Leech Seed's just really nice for easing my switch-ins to his team. Obviously, like I mentioned, the breaking power of things like Landorus and Nidoking is very difficult for my team to deal with. If I can get a Leech Seed off, that kind of helps to some extent. At least I can bring stuff in. Even if I take a big hit, I'll at least be getting some recovery back from the Leech Seed, potentially incentivize him to switch out and get some good damage that way. This also is a nice way for me to whittle down the Bronzong and the Tapu Fini over the course of the match, getting Leech Seed off on them. They can't really remove it because they're not rapid spinners, obviously. So Celesteela, while I'm not doing a ton to them, they're not really doing a ton back to me. Even if he's like Nature's Madness, Tapu Fini, I can land a Leech Seed on that thing. Leech Seed plus Leftovers is going to get me some good recovery back, and Heavy Slam will still do a decent chunk to that thing. Bronzong, I do have the Flamethrower to whittle that thing down. I think he'd be running a Levitate variant versus me, just to make sure if I'm running like Earthquake on my Venusaur, Earthquake on Gligar, things like that. I think Levitate makes more sense than Heatproof this match. So Flamethrowers there is just kind of a little bit of a chip option for the Bronzong, and also hit the Tangrowth super effectively. Next up is Jetstream the Latios, running Leftovers Latios with Calm Mind, Recover, Psyshock, and Shadow Ball. Running max speed, max special attack, Timid Nature. This way I'm going to speed tie with the Lycanroc Dusk, should you happen to bring that. I didn't feel like it was really worth creeping down because I still wanted to outrun things like the Mienshao and the Landorus anyway, so I didn't feel like I was going to get a ton of extra bulk by not speed creeping the Lycanroc, so I figured I might as well force that speed tie. But at the very least, Calm Mind Latios gives me a pretty decent setup option in this game. Obviously, I'm walled by the Mega Tyranitar, so I'm going to have to deal with that at some point. But Calm Mind Latios could really put in the work on his team. Most of his team is especially offensive, bar like the Tyranitar and the Lycanroc, I guess. And Mienshao is a fighting type, and that is slower than my Latios, so you really shouldn't want to be like leaving that in on me. Like I mentioned, I don't anticipate seeing Sand, so most of what I anticipated seeing, things like Tapu Fini, things like Landorus, things like Nidoking, all Calm Mind Latios deals very nicely with. Psychic Stab is just really good as neutral coverage in this game, again, for things that are not the Tyranitar, and then Shadow Ball covers everything else in this case being the Bronzong. Also hits the Cofagrigus for a little bit of extra damage that I wouldn't get out of my Psyshock. Running Psyshock over Psychic so I can win a Calm Mind War with the Raikou potentially, or a Calm Mind War with Tapu Fini or Landorus if you happen to go that route. Landorus I do believe gets Calm Mind, so I felt like Psyshock was just better in this game overall. In general, most of his stuff is less physically defensive than it is specially defensive, again, specifically the Tapu Fini and the Raikou. So I felt like having the Calm Mind option there with Latios is nice. Gonna have to remove the Tyranitar before that, but I do have some decent lures for that thing that can hopefully at least whittle it down, if not remove it from play earlier in the match. Next up here, we've got Digimon the Zeraora, running Life Orb Zeraora with Plasma Fist, Close Combat, Knockoff, and HP Ice. Running Max Attack, decent bit into Special Attack with a, Hasty Nature. This is going to allow me to not take any damage reduction off my HP Ice while still boosting my speed. Obviously, I am going to have a little bit of a weaker Fizz Def option, which is a little unfortunate for taking things like a Celerock from the Lycanroc, but overall, I really don't want to be leaving in Zeraora in situations where I'm not sure if I'm faster anyways. The combination of these four moves just really gives me some great offensive pressure on his team. I can knock off items from things like Nidoking coming in, things like Tangrowth coming in. Those are probably his two best switch-ins to me in general, are Nidoking and Tangrowth. And if he's predicting me to go for an electric type move, he might go into something like Landorus. Removing items from any of those things is really, really nice for me. HP Ice is there to, I believe, Oko the Landorus after Stealth Rock, if I'm not mistaken. He might be running some bulk on his Landorus, but I'm not really sure that he would because I do have some base 95 mons. So, yeah, he might be running some bulk on the Landorus. Definitely going to have to scout if he's like potentially Yachi Berry or something like that, or Choice Scarf Landorus. But HP Ice should do a huge chunk to that thing, if not knock it out. Plasma Fist obviously pressures a lot of things on his team, like the Tapu Fini, does some good damage to things like Mienshao, Lycanroc Dusk, for example, and Close Combat's there specifically to hit the Mega Tyranitar. Also is, of course, super effective on the Lycanroc, but mainly there to hit the Tyranitar. And also does some decent damage to the Raikou. I can, again, knock off an item from the Raikou potentially. He can't hit me with his electric-type move, so I'll be out-damaging the Raikou 1v1, and I will outspeed if he's not running Choice Scarf. So, Zeraora, I think, just a really nice potential late-game cleaner in this match. Try to save it in the back for the most part, and hopefully once I've kind of identified his Choice Scarf options, potentially remove some items, I can potentially get a late-game clean with the Zeraora going. Next up here is Battletoad the Mega Venusaur, running Sludge Bomb, Earthquake, Leech Seed, and Giga Drain. Again, I do have some issues with Synthesis in this matchup because he does have the Sand on Mega Tyranitar. I'll only be healing back 25% if I go for Synthesis. Felt like it was better to just run Leech Seed plus Giga Drain instead to try and keep myself healthy. Leech Seed's going to be nice to help wear down things like the Bronzong once again, so I've got the double Leech Seed with Celesteela and Mega Venusaur. Forms a really nice defensive backbone with even just those two Pokemon. Leech Seed again is going to really help ease some of my switch-ins to his breakers this game. Things like the Mega Tyranitar I don't take hits from super well, even as a Mega Venusaur. Giga Drain should do an okay chunk back to that thing, but in Sand it's not going to do a ton. And Sludge Bomb's just there to hit specifically the Tangrowth. Again, the Tangrowth could be really, really problematic for this team, especially things like my Zeraora, so I definitely want to try and remove that thing as early as possible. Maybe snag a Poison on some of his other Mons coming in, predicting a Poison-type move. Getting Poison on pretty much any of his kind of bulkier Pokemon, things like Cofagrigus, things like T-Tar, would be really nice for me. It also pressures Tapu Fini a little bit harder than Giga Drain does, although of course getting the health back from Giga Drain will be really nice for me over the course of the match if I can do that. This Pokemon's just pretty difficult for him to bring down. I don't think that he's really got a whole lot that can OHKO it outside of like Z Flylanders Incarnate, or a boosted Mon. So I should be able to take most neutral hits from his team, fire off a Leech Seed, get myself some recovery, Giga Drain up, get some health, Sludge Bomb around, spread some status, really just kind of chip things down to put them in range of Latios or Zeraora in the late game. Next up is Frogchamp the Greninja, running Expert Belt Greninja with, of course, Torrent ability, Hydro Pump, Low Kick, U-Turn, and Dark Pulse. I didn't really need U-Turn in this game, but I felt like as an offensive move, it was actually pretty good. Like, obviously with Greninja, you'd rather be running like Spikes or something as your quote-unquote momentum move, but in this case, it actually kind of pressures things okay. Like, U-Turn's going to do a sizable chunk to Tangrowth, not a ton, but a sizable chunk to Tangrowth. But it's more so there for the Mega Tyranitar. I don't necessarily OHKO Mega Tyranitar from full with a Low Kick, so instead of having to risk that, I can just click U-Turn, guarantee that I get off the damage I need, and go into something like my Celesteela to take the hit. So getting that little bit of chip damage off on the Tyranitar, I think it does like 30%-ish with U-Turn, will guarantee put him in range of Low Kick later in the game, and I won't have to worry about it. Hydro Pump just hits his team incredibly hard. I really didn't want to run Scald this game, because first of all, he's got the Tapu Fini anyways for the Misty Terrain, which would mean I won't be burning stuff anyway. But also Hydro Pump just gets me some KOs on things like Landorus, things like Lycanroc guarantees the KOs on Nidoking, stuff like that. I felt like the damage output was a little bit more appreciated, and I'll take the little bit of extra chance to miss. Dark Pulse specifically hits the Cofagrigus and Bronzong in this game, pressures those things pretty hard, potentially snags some flinches. It is a 20% chance, and I am, of course, the king of Dark Pulse flinches, so maybe we'll land one of those with Greninja here, but Dark Pulse should do a decent chunk on those two Pokemon in particular. And lastly here, we've got Sauron the Necrozma, running Psychium Z Necrozma with Swords Dance, Brick Break, Psycho Cut, and Knockoff. Running Max Attack Jolly Nature with a good bit into HP. I really didn't feel like I needed to creep too much in this game. What am I hitting? 254 here. I believe I was just creeping the Tyranitar, if I'm not mistaken. I think I was creeping like Adamant Tyranitar or something like that. Not too sure. I guess that could be Jolly. But anyways, Necrozma here, really nice to break through his team. Sword Stance plus Brick Break allows me an opportunity to break through the Tyranitar in the early game, again opening that door for my Combine Latios in the back. Running Psycho Cut over Photon Geyser in this instance, because even though Photon Geyser will be a physical move when I use it normally, if you use the Z move variant of Photon Geyser, it's always a special attack, which means if you SD and then use Z Photon Geyser, you're going to be very disappointed. I saw Pokeaim do it in game once. He like SD'd and then Z Photon Geyser to Slowking, expecting it to die, and then it took like 4 damage because it was Assault Vest. Definitely didn't want to repeat that mistake, so I ran with Psycho Cut over Psychium Z. Not quite as nice of a nuke, but at +2 it should allow me to break through things like Tapu Fini, which is really nice. Knockoff pressures the Bronzong at +2, that should go down, assuming he's running like a specially defensive variant of Bronzong. And even still, Knockoff's still pretty nice versus team, can help me remove some items from stuff. SD Psychium Z I think can also KO like a Spadef Tangrowth if I'm not mistaken. So just really a nice breaking tool in this game, potentially KO the Cofagrigus depending on what kind of set he's running. Really just learning any of those things with an SD variant of Necrozma. If he's expecting me to be bulkier, like Stealth Rock type variant, that might be something he could be watching out for in this game, especially because Necrozma is actually the only Stealth Rocker that I brought to this game, and I don't have Stealth Rocks. I'm kind of relying on his sand to get me any chip that I might need to break through stuff, or to potentially clean late game with things like Zera Aura. And then just kind of spreading the rest of the chip with Leech Seed and Knockoff and things like that. Kind of weaker moves, U-turn. Just getting the chip that I need to put things in range of where they need to be for me to win this game in the late game. So, like the SD Necrozma set for this game, definitely the fighting type plus psychic type coverage is pretty nice in this match. And Knockoff is there just pretty nicely round out my squad here and give me a way to pressure that Bronzong without having to kind of switch out on it. Alright, so without further ado, let's get into the match here. As you can see, my opponent did bring the Nidoking, Landorus, Bronzong, Tapu Fini, Mega Tyranitar, and the Cofagrigus. So obviously pretty sad to see the Cofagrigus. Like I mentioned, my Ghost Resists are pretty much non-existent. So I'm kind of expecting that to be a more offensive variant of Cofagrigus, especially if he's not throwing it out onto the field early to deal with things like Zera Aura, Celesteela, Necrozma. If he's not switching it in on those things, I'm pretty much going to take that as a cue that it's a more offensive, maybe Trick Room variant of Cofagrigus, so definitely need to watch out for that. Nidoking is a very scary breaker versus me, but it is also kind of his main Zera Aura response, seeing that he didn't elect to bring the Tangrowth. Now, Zera Aura looks really nice in this game. I've got HP Ice to hit the Landorus, I've got Knockoff plus HP Ice. I believe that might kill the Nidoking upon switch in, depending on his investment. Knockoff really pressures the Bronzong well, Plasma Fist for the Fini. Knockoff to potentially remove an item from the Cofagrigus if he's not running Z. And Close Combat, of course, hits the Mega Tyranitar. So I really like my Zera Aura in this game. Definitely a good option for late game cleaning. Latios is kind of in this game because, like I mentioned, there's the Mega T-Tar. But if I can get rid of that thing, it actually looks really nice. The rest of his team is all special attackers, unless he's running a physical variant of Nidoking or Lando. So I feel like Latios could definitely do some work late game. Gyro Ball from Bronzong doesn't do a ton to me. Like, it's not like I can just roost off the damage super well, but he only gets 8 Gyro Balls, so I can technically stall him out. I'd be risking crits and such, but Calm Mind plus Psychic plus Ghost is pretty nice in this match, bar the Tyranitar. So if I can break through that with like my Necrozma early game, or if I can get a low kick off with my Greninja, maybe he thinks he lives and he can go for Stone Edge or whatever to knock me out, that would be really nice for me. So looking at lead matchup, I've really got two options. It's either Venusaur or it's Greninja. Greninja matches up really nicely against everything that's not named Tapu Fini. In fact, it matches up super nicely against everything not named Tapu Fini. I can just U-turn out on the Tyranitar, get that chip damage I mentioned for low kick, and obviously everything else I have super effective stab for. So Tapu Fini is really the only thing that denies my Greninja from having a huge advantage at lead. Mega Venusaur is also nice because nothing's gonna like outright blow it away at lead. I don't want him getting up like Stealth Rocks for free with his Bronzong. Like all I can really do to that thing is Leech Seed it, and he can just switch out after I Leech Seed him, and I'll have gained basically nothing, and he'll have gotten up Stealth Rocks. So I wanted some way to pressure him from not getting up Stealth Rocks. So I elected to lead with my Greninja instead. Like I mentioned, it matched up well against 5 of his 6 Mons. Unfortunately, he did lead with the 6th, which is the Tapu Fini, so I have to get out of here, obviously. I don't really want to risk him being random Choice Scarf Tapu Fini. Not that I think he would be running that versus me, but just in case, I'm actually going to hard switch out into my Venusaur rather than U-turning. He makes a really nice play here and goes right for the Nature's Madness. So, really good play on Kyle's end there, taking a huge chunk off my Venusaur. Very unfortunate for me, of course. Obviously, he's got to switch out at this point, which should allow me to get up my Mega at the very least and go for a Leech Seed. Tapu Fini really doesn't threaten a Mega Evolved Mega Venusaur very much, with the exception of the Nature's Madness there. So, again, I don't have Synthesis, so not that would have done much in Sand anyways, but Leech Seed's going to get me at least a little bit of recovery here on my Venusaur as the Tyranitar comes out, and getting some chip damage off on this thing's always nice for my Latios. So, I could stay in here and go for a Giga Drain, but if he's max attack Adamant Nature, a Stone Edge could actually knock me out from that range. So what I'm going to do instead is just go out into my Celesteela, as he goes right for the Taunt with his Mega Tyranitar. So this might be a bulkier variant of Tyranitar, it looks like. I'm going to get a little bit more chip damage off on it with the Leech Seed, but it's kind of unfortunate I didn't just go for Giga Drain there. I could have gotten a lot more health off on this Tyranitar and also have my Venusaur in a much better range of health, but not too much I can do about that. I'm just going to go out into my Celesteela here, go for Heavy Slam because I am taunted. It's going to do a little bit of damage, but not much to this Bronzong coming in. And I'm pretty sure he's just going to get up his Stealth Rocks here, so I don't feel like it's really worth it for me to go for Leech Seed if he's just going to switch right out. So I'm going to go for Flamethrower, get a good chunk of damage off on this thing, find out it's definitely Levitate, because that Flamethrower did way too much otherwise. And it looks like he's a more specially defensive variant of Bronzong to help take on my Latios. So getting that chip damage off is still good. for my Latios. It's going to help put him in range of potentially, I think, a +2 Shadow Ball at that range should knock out the Bronzong. So definitely good chip damage there for my Celesteela. As my taunt wears off here, I'm just going to go for Leech Seed. I really had no reason not to. Going to get a little bit of insight on this Tapu Fini set as well. Get some chip damage off with the Leech Seed plus Sandstorm here. And I believe we find out that he's running a Leftovers variant. Oh wait, no, Sandstorm ended. So we're actually not going to find out that just yet. But he's going to go for knockoff here with his Fini. Unfortunately, I was sitting there like I could go into Venusaur on this thing. But I don't want to eat another Nature's Madness on Venusaur and then be at like 0 HP. So I figured I'd just stay in with Celesteela, Leech Seed, get some health back with my Leftovers and everything. But unfortunately, he was carrying the knockoff, removes my Leftovers from my Celesteela, which kind of sucks. But he does reveal that he's Leftovers there. So definitely a very defensive, obviously, variant of the Tapu Fini at this point. He's just going to go for another Nature's Madness as I elect to try to double Leech Seed here. I thought he might switch out because this is really his only viable alternative to my Greninja. And I really thought he was going to try to preserve some HP on it. So I went for the double Leech Seed there, trying to make a play. I think it was still worth it to click that. But I'm going to go for Heavy Slam here, obviously, now that he's shown the willingness to stay in. Oh, no. I switched out. Why did I go? I must have gone Venusaur to try and get some HP back. Sorry, it's been a while since I played this game. But I went Venusaur here, and I don't really have a good switch into Nidoking, so I'm just going to let it go down. But it actually turned out this was a very offensive variant of Nidoking. If I had known that, I might have... Sorry, defensive variant of Nidoking. So if I'd known that, I might have just gone for Giga Drain. I actually would have been out of range of 2 Earth Powers, but it turns out he has Black Sludge Nidoking and really doesn't have a whole lot of attack investment. So unfortunately, my Venusaur is going to go down. Could have gotten 2 hits off on the Nidoking instead of 1, but that's alright. I at least got some chip damage off for my my Zeraora. This will pretty freely allow me to go into either my Necrozma or my Greninja here on this Nidoking. Obviously, I don't want to go into my Latios yet, in case he has Pursuit on his Tyranitar. So I'm going to elect to go Necrozma first, see what he wants to do. Go for Swords Dance in his face. I really thought he'd save this as well because it seemed like his main Zeraora answer. But he goes for Super Fang there, makes a really nice play, goes for Super Fang. Gets some decent damage off on my Necrozma, but it turns out I am faster, so he's definitely running like max HP Nidoking here. Pretty slow variant, so Psycho Cut definitely going to blow that thing away at +2. Didn't even need to use my Z move, can definitely save that for something like Pythagoras or for Tapu Fini later in the game. I'm kind of hoping he'll choke and go out into the Tyranitar here, but he makes a good play and just goes down to Landorus. Obviously, since I'm a physical variant, he should fear me having the Brick Break. But kind of predicting him to expect me to sack it off. Easy to go out into my Celesteela here. It's Landorus anyway, so right now it can't really touch me too much. So I'm going to go out into my Celesteela, just get off some recovery on this Landorus as he does show the gravity, like I kind of expected him to have. But here's where the Leech Seed's really nice. It's going to get my Celesteela a little bit more health, keep me out of range of the Tyranitar, but also somewhat ease my switching into my Latios. Like, I fully understand that gravity is up, and I'm not going to be immune to this Earth Power. But I really don't have like everything else is going to die if I leave it in. So Latios was the only thing that could take a hit here, so I decided to go out into it. It's not super important with the Tyranitar kicking around anyway. So I'm perfectly content to go out there, get a little bit more chip damage off on this Landorus, and if he's not Yachi Berry, he's now in range of HP Ice from my Zeraora, which is great. Anyways, I'm going to double out into Necrozma here, predicting him to go out into Tyranitar. This will allow me to pressure him with a Fighting type move, but unfortunately he just goes out into Bronzong instead. That's not so bad for me, outside of the fact that I don't get some chip damage off on the Tyranitar with my Brick Break. But I am going to be able to go for knockoff here onto the Bronzong, get some huge damage off and remove its Leftovers. It's one of his kind of secondary defensive checks to my Latios Golem, which is great. Also something that could potentially have taken a hit from my Zeraora later in the game. Got maybe like Psywave damage or something like that off on my Celesteela, so getting rid of that thing's nice. And Necrozma was already kind of put in overtime at this game. Got rid of the Nidoking, kind of broke down this Bronzong, got rid of that as well. Done pretty well in this match. I think it's time to let it go. Stealth Rock's up with Toxic off on it. I really don't think the odds of me getting off a Brick Break on that Tyranitar are super realistic. And again, because the Pythagoras has been sitting in the back for so long, I'm pretty sure it's a more defensive variant, offensive variant. So felt like Necrozma was pretty much useless at this point in the game. It's going to allow him to knock me out with his Landorus. And now this is a free Hydro Pump with my Greninja. I don't really care if he goes out into Tapu Fini here, because I do still have my Celesteela alive. I can sack off my Latios, whatever. I just can't risk switching out here and allowing him to get off some more big damage on my team. So I feel like Hydro Pump was really the only play I could make. And I'm able to knock out the Landorus there, thankfully. So big play there, getting rid of the Landorus. Definitely a little bit of a 50-50, because if he stayed in to go for like Gravity or something as I U-turned out, that would have been hugely problematic for me. So I definitely had to just attack there, and he goes out into Pythagoras, which basically guarantees in my mind that this is an offensive Trick Room variant of Pythagoras. Unfortunately, I don't get the Dark Pulse flinch, but again, only 20%. Do some big damage to the Pythagoras at least, and he actually reveals the Energy Ball. It's kind of sitting there like a lot of times these Pythagoras run HP Fighting because they don't have the appropriate coverage for Dark types. I didn't even know it got Energy Ball. After using it in all of OLT, I didn't even know it got Energy Ball. But able to knock out my Greninja, definitely some nice tech on his end. Bringing that, and now I basically have to waste off some Trick Room turns. So I'm going to allow him to kill my Celesteela because it requires him to use his Z move, and Zeraora is really my way of winning this game at this point. So I'm going to go out into Zeraora instead after the Celesteela goes down. I could have, I guess, gone out into Latios, or sacked Latios after that, and kept a little bit of chip damage off my Zeraora, but it was really one switch into Stealth Rock versus two switch-ins, and then if you like nasty plotted or something, I was in a bad spot. So I allowed the Latios to the Celesteela to go down in the Z move just to make sure my Zeraora was going to live. I'm able to knock out the Pythagoras with my Plasma Fist. So he's only got one turn of Trick Room left, thankfully, but unfortunately that means I have to swap out my Zeraora. And you saw there I took some Life Orb chips, so I've only got 2 hits left actually with my Zeraora at this point. So definitely not a great situation to be in because I have to now basically guess right twice, or at least once rather, to make sure those 2 hits count. So I'm going to sack off my Latios. That's kind of the first and foremost step here with the Trick Room being up. Going to sack off my Latios and get my Zeraora back in. You can see I come in, take some Stealth Rock damage. I'm at 19%, I believe, after Stealth Rocks, which, like I mentioned, gets me 1 hit before I go sub 10%, and then 1 more to die. So basically I need to get this turn right. It's a 50-50. Like, if I go for close combat as he goes Tapu Fini, I lose. If he stays in with Tyranitar as I go for close combat, I win. And then on the opposite side, if he goes into Tapu Fini, predicting Plasma Fist, and I go for close combat, or sorry, if he doesn't go into Tapu Fini, predicting Plasma Fist, and I go for Plasma Fist, he wins. It's, like I said, just a straight up 50-50. Straight up 50-50 here. I'm pretty sure that he's going to go into Tapu Fini. Like, I clicked and unclicked and clicked and unclicked this turn. I'm pretty sure he's going to go into Tapu Fini here, so I went with my gut. The first thing I clicked was Plasma Fist, rather, predicting him to go into Tapu Fini. I decided to stick with my gut, go for the Plasma Fist, predict the Tapu Fini switch in, and thankfully we get that right. So we win that 50-50 there, KO the Tapu Fini, and have just enough HP to live Life Orb Recoil plus Sandstorm. Expertly calculated, of course. Really just a game that comes down to a 50-50 is always a really kind of close one. There's no kind of right or wrong play in that situation. It's really just what do you think your opponent's going to do, and are you lucky enough to get it right. So fortunately for us, we got it right there. We KO the Tapu Fini, and now I'm just going to be able to close combat this Mega Tyranitar to win this game. And a 0-0 victory, which I think is my first time ever picking up a 0-0 victory in Draft League. So definitely a really, really good game to Kyle. He prepped very well, had a very nice team. Pythagoras was a huge problem for me. Landorus, of course, was a huge problem for me. Tyranitar, like, he prepped really well for this game. Lots of credit for him. Really good game. But thankfully, we are able to start out 1-0 despite none of our Pokemon still being alive. Might be that kind of like low differential type of season, but that's fine. As long as we win, I really don't care about differential too much. So, once again, really good game to Kyle. Good luck for the rest of the season. I believe he's new this season. I don't think he actually played in the MWPA last time. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I don't believe he played in MWPA Season 6. But really, really good game to Kyle. Really good battler. Hope to see what he does in the future for sure. But yeah, we're starting out 1-0, starting out the right way in MWPA Season 7. Hopefully you guys stick around for the rest of the season, and I will try to catch up on these games. I know I'm a little bit behind, but yeah, thanks for watching if you did to this point, and I hope to see you guys in another video. Later.